Welcome back to Omni Garage. So it's a bit of a wet one, but this is perfect because what we're going to do is we're going to fert my lawn.
This is the first time you've ever done this, isn't it?
First time. So don't judge me on my grass. So we've had this property for a while now, and actually that half there never had grass. So it looks green because it's probably 90% weed. And there's a lot of weed in this lawn, but what we've decided to do is we're going to fert the lawn to hopefully make the grass that's in here grow better and sort of hopefully try and get it to spread a little bit before we knock the weed out. So that's kind of like a reverse psychology on what you would typically recommend, right?
Yes.
You're the lawn dude, not me.
This is going to be a bit of a different one. So we're going to do a bit of a series, a lawn transformation here, because we had a chat about this lawn, and I know initially you wanted to roll out some ready lawn here. You wanted to just bring a digger in
and start it all from fresh.
And what we thought is, instead of doing that, how about we see if we can resurrect this, get it to come back to life.
Give it a crack, see what
which will be a whole lot cheaper to do and a little bit of fun as well. So we'll be able to learn a few skills along the way. But what you've got here is we've got
kind of like every type of lawn in here, right?
We do. So the majority of this is weed.
Yep.
Okay, so there's a lot of crabgrass.
I agree,
here.
agree with that.
There's a lot of just a lot of everything. Pretty much every species you can think of we've got in here. But the majority of this lawn, where it is looking good, and when I say where it's looking good, is a lot of these brown areas actually.
Well, this sort of has died off, but this is
kikuyu.
This is kikuyu.
So you've got a lot of kikuyu in here. You've got a little bit of couch grass.
Is that fine stuff, or is that fine fescue?
Yeah, you've got some fine fescue. So I think what's happened over here is at some point someone...
Well, this used to be just dirt.
Yep.
So all this used to be dirt in here, and so we've got little random spots of that.
Yep, so you've got some fine fescue. You've got a lot of broadleaf weed. So a lot of
stuff?
A lot of this stuff here. Yep, broadleaf. So we can knock out a lot of this weed.
And this here's weed, this thing here?
This patch here, I'm not 100% sure. If anyone knows what that type of grass there is, let us know.
Because there's patches of that sort of takes over.
It's quite thick. It's almost the kind of grass you'd see in the Pacific Islands. But I mean, this is some crabgrass, so that's a weed.
And this here, this is
your kikuyu.
Kikuyu. So I've seen that run along here over time, sort of run down the side of the fence there.
And the kikuyu and couch grass in New Zealand is known as a cool season grass. So it performs really well in the it performs really well in the summer.
Yeah.
And at times it can die out or it goes dormant as well.
It goes like this. So it's winter here now. Yep. So this is what that looks like. It goes dormant.
Isn't dead. This is just dormant. And in the summertime, and this is why it's a great lawn to have here in New Zealand, especially on water restrictions through summer. Doesn't require a lot of upkeep over the summertime.
I don't want to have to stand out here and water this for 3 hours every day.
Yep, so what you don't want is a fine fescue or a tall fescue lawn, because you're going to be out here in summer watering all the time, and when there's watering restrictions you're going to need a bore.
And we've got a real nice section here that's sort of taken over, because this used to be all sort of a bit patchy and a bit dead, and then we've got another little random growth of something else coming down the side of the house on this side.
Yeah, so as we get further out the front here it gets a lot patchier. I mean, if we put some weed killer down now,
that'll kill all of that.
That will get rid of pretty much, I reckon, 70% of your lawn. So we're going to reverse engineer this. Instead of knocking out weeds and then trying to oversee it and do it that way, what we're going to do...
I think that makes sense, because you know what will happen? This lawn is kind of like a 12-footer, you know? Like a 12-footer car. You stand back and go, that car's 12 feet. You know, good from 12 feet. But when I get closer, ooh. So this lawn looks good from 12 feet because it looks green.
It does. That's the reason it looks good.
The key here is it looks green, but as we get closer we see the weeds, and so you're right. If I put weed killer down on here, I'm going to kill all of it. It's going to look terrible, and I'm going to be that house with the terrible lawn, right?
So what we're going to do, we're going to throw $40 at this lawn to start with, invert with some iron. What we're going to try and do is, obviously the iron will pump up the colour, so we're going to get a lot of greenness in here, because it's looking quite, it's got a yellow tinge to it. So it's going to go green, and we're going to just pump it with some fert. So over the next probably 8 to 12 weeks, we can see how the proper grass in there, I mean, the fert is going to take off some of the weeds as well, right? So what we're trying to go for...
It might pump up those weeds as well.
It might. So what we want to go for is just growth here. We want to just see what's going to come through. I want to see if I can
get the growth of my lawn that I've got, the grass part, to see if we can make that look better than it currently does.
And then what we'll do is we'll come along with some selective herbicides, and we'll get rid of some of the weeds. Yeah, they're called herbicides.
I feel like I'm sort of in the sort of spice cabinet, you know, where you're looking for a bit of general herb or a little bit of, you know, a little bit of chili powder or stuff. Herbicides.
Well, I don't know an awful lot.
Sounds like I'm at the pantry, you know, choosing what I want on my steak type thing.
Look, I'm not claiming to be a lawn pro. Like, I couldn't tell you exactly what the specific weed sprays and herbicides, insecticides, etc. that we'd need to put down on the lawn. but I've had enough experience with them. I can kind of point them on my shelf in the garage and tell you this will kill this type of weed.
This is not a how to get your lawn back. This is like this is what we're going to give this a nudge and chuck a little bit of money in it and see what happens.
Yeah,
I mean,
who knows?
We'll get ripped to shreds in the comments, and I love that because, like, you know, I'm happy for everyone to tell me how to do it because I suck at this. So tell me where I'm going wrong and tell me where I'm going wrong. I'm probably going wrong with the fact that this lawn's terrible.
And we might
actually, it's not a lawn. It's sort of like a nice weed garden.
We might be coming back in 12 months anyway with a digger and ripping it all up.
And going, yeah, and everyone will be like, oh, I told you so. But anyway, what we've got here is a Ryobi seed spreader. This is really key to being able to do a small area like this. And so this is an 18-volt tool, and I don't really know too much about it, but here we have, on the top here is a knob, and we can select different settings on how much this gate opens and closes.
Yep, so basically the lower that number is, when you click that trigger, it'll open up this piece at the bottom here. So give it a wheel for us. You can see how wide that opens, which is controlling the flow rate essentially of how much we're putting out.
And that's nothing, and that's a little bit more. And then on the bottom here, we've got our, I suppose, our fan setting, right? So if it's I don't know, is it that way?
So if you're going the other way, push it back all the way open, so that's going to give us a 180-degree spray pattern.
It's going to spray it out like that, and the more I click this back, the more narrow the spray pattern becomes.
Correct, so we're going to go really narrow when we're working with like the curb area or up against a fence. But what we'll do is we'll go and fill this with our fert, we'll go and open that bag. We do have a separate video review on the seed spreader tool
specifically for this
on my old lawn, which was a tool fescue, so we'll put that up in the corner.
So if you want to see the specifics and a real deep dive into this tool, go back and check that out. But that's basically a real quick basic overview of this tool, and then I suppose we can show you the seed that we've got. I don't know anything about it.
All right, so Glenn asked me what to buy, and I sent him a link. I don't know an awful lot about this fert. All I know is that this is work. Yeah, it's Pro Lawn 22 minus 1 minus 4 plus iron. Yeah,
that sounds real cool.
So what I can tell you about this is we want to make sure that
it's specifically designed for established lawns, which we don't have.
Well, we do have an established lawn.
Sort of, okay.
It's not new growth, right? Because you're going to want to use a different fert if you're establishing a new lawn from seed.
Right, okay.
So this wouldn't be appropriate for that.
It's a high in controlled release nitrogen, which is key. So that's going to be slow release.
Slow release. So this should
over
go
a period of time
for I think somewhere between 8 to 12 weeks. What do we say on the package?
Yeah, sustain feeding for 8 to 10 week period.
Yep. So it's slow release, meaning that you can get away with doing this. I'd recommend somewhere between 3 to 4 times a year. You don't want to be putting this down every 8 weeks. I think that you probably want to select your months depending on the seasons.
Yeah.
You don't want to put this down when it's really hot either, and it's important that this is watered in. Hence why we're out here on a pretty miserable looking day.
So it's been raining all day.
Yep.
So the lawn is wet, and there's also a bit of rain predicted tonight and the following days to come. So this is kind of that perfect condition so that I'm not having to water this in.
Exactly. So you want to put this down before rain or even during rain if you can. What that does make a little bit harder for you is any of this that gets on the concrete because of the iron in here is going to leave these like rusty little ring marks. So
for the people who are detailers, car detailers that use wheel cleaners and stuff like that on your driveway, you want to rinse the driveway down exactly the same here.
Yep. It's made a little bit easier if it wasn't wet out here right now because you can get the leaf blower out and blow any of those pills back onto the grass.
We'll just have to be careful on the sides here.
Well, what we'll do, we'll just make sure we get the hose out and spray everything back onto the corner of the lawn. So we'll dump this whole bag in the spreader.
Well, it says that this is a 3 kilo bag, and it says roughly 2 to 3 kilos per 100 square meters. So this is 500 square meter section. House is like 180 odd.
We've got some driveway, some concrete.
Driveway, so we'll use this whole bag.
Well, I think we've kind of worked out we've got a minimum of 200, maybe 250 square meters of lawn. So we're probably underdoing it a little bit with this bag. We probably want another kilo of this, to be completely honest, if we wanted to put the application rates down properly. But we haven't measured this lawn out either.
So we're just kind of guessing.
We are, but maybe measuring will be our next step after we do this.
Sweet. Oh well, let's fill this up and spread some fert.
I should just be able to rip it. Don't drop a whole lot of that on the lawn right here, or you're going to get a real green spot.
Ooh, nice. What's the capacity of this hopper? Do you know?
I think it puts. I think you put about 4 kilo in there.
Well, I put 3 and it's not quite full, so yeah, good guess.
All right, so we're loaded up. So what I'll be doing with this next is giving it a bit of a, just a little bit of a shake, get it to all even out in there, and we're ready to go. This is your first.
So we've got this on the lowest setting because we want to try and get the maximum coverage we can with the little amount of product we've got here. And I've also got it on the widest fan setting to hopefully get some decent coverage, I suppose.
Yeah, and we're going to walk straight line. So we're going to go down, turn around, move across a couple of meters, come back again, and then if we have enough left over, we're going to go in the opposite direction. So basically we're going one way and then coming across the other way.
Oh, that sounds fancy.
So we've got it on the lowest setting here. Let's spread some fert. And you just want to keep a steady rate of, yeah, we're probably going to want to go to setting 2, looking at that. So, be able to keep going from there. Yeah, there we go. You can just keep moving nice and quick. And stop. And we just move across a couple of meters and we just come back. And what we want to do is make sure that we keep leveling this out. So just give it a shake, making sure that it's not all bunching up in there. Now the spreader that we're using today is not something I'd recommend using if you've got a really large lawn. You know, if you've got 500 square meters plus, what I'd do is get a walk behind spreader that you're pushing. But for a small section like this, a tool like the Ryobi seed and fert spreader, this works perfect. Easy to store as well, you're not having to take up valuable space in your garage or your shed. It's all done.
All right, yeah, that last little bit in the hopper here, I think you've just got to shake it as much as you can just to get that last little bit out. Or I suppose you could pick it up and
you could throw it around, yeah, if you needed to.
But all in all, if you've got a reasonable sized lawn, then this is fine.
So what we're going to deal with now is all of these fert pills that are all over the concrete. Because if you leave these behind, as we said, it's going to leave a big iron mark on them. So we're going to get the hose out because we can't get the leaf blower because this concrete's already wet, and we'll just make sure that we spray all of these off just in the direction of the lawn, which will push them just into the edge there. A little bit tedious, this process.
I definitely would say I would do this when the concrete was dry, and I'll just use my leaf blower and blow it all off. It'd be way easier than having to wet this one, you know.
Yeah, hence the best way that you can do this is apply your fert in decent weather. Obviously not when there's going to be multiple days of decent weather, but apply it while it's dry.
So there we are, there's a real basic sort of introduction of me trying to get this lawn into some sort of shape, and we used a key tool here, a Ryobi seed spreader, which is I think something you'll need for a lawn like this if you were definitely going to do some regular maintenance. So over the next coming weeks and months, we're just going to see what grows from this. We'll keep you up to date with progress, and what do you reckon?
Well, I'm hoping that it doesn't involve us bringing a little bobcat in and ripping this lawn up.
I haven't got the money for ripping this lawn up, so someone could sponsor me some nice roller lawn, or
yeah, fine lawn. Reach out to us.
Yeah.
No, I think what's going to be really satisfying here is if we can get this lawn transformed just off us putting a bit of blood, sweat and tears into it. A little bit of money along the way, but a whole lot more cost effective than putting rollout here. And I think it's going to, although require a bit more work, because we are going to need to do some overseeding, we're probably going to need to do some leveling here, obviously a whole lot of weed removal, and then we need to stay on top of them. But a lot of those things are things you'd need to do with rollout lawn anyway. You'd still need to fert it, you'd still need to do selective weed treatment. So really what we're adding to the process here is needing to do some overseeding and really trying to get the good established lawn to overtake all of the weed in here.
So this is step 1 in the process. We'll see how we go. We also don't really know what we're doing either, but we're going to try it, have a little bit of fun and take you guys along with the journey. So if you like this type of content, give us a thumbs up, write some comments if we're doing it wrong, or give us some advice, because we probably really need some. But that's it from Omni Garage. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next couple of videos.